Join. We're going to go live here on YouTube. I think we're all set. Okay, let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the Terry Hansen Show. As you know, my name is Terry Hansen. It's great to be back with you once again. And special welcome to my co-hosts, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and greetings from Podunk, Potato Land, Idaho. Special welcome to all the Instagrammers and all the YouTubers. So good to have you here. On today's episode number 42, you and I are going to talk a little bit about if you're making cold calls, whether or not you should leave a voice message or not. Now, if you are in the habit of making cold calls, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are a sales professional, or if you are a freelancer and you're under the obligation to generate new business for your company, you know the pressure that it is to have to go out and find new prospects for your business. So one of the mechanisms or one of the methods that a lot of people use that still works very well is cold calling. And if you've ever made any sort of cold calls or outbound sort of prospecting efforts, you know that when you reach out to companies, not every executive or business owner or decision maker is always available. Oftentimes they're in meetings and on the phone, etc., and you get their voicemail. So the question is, when you run into that situation, should you or should you not leave a voice message? What do you guys think? I'd love for you guys to post your comments down below. Weigh in on this topic. I'm going to share some strategies and some ideas with you today that hopefully will make a difference when you run into this situation, whether you are in favor of leaving a message or are not in favor of leaving a message. So if you're on Instagram there, go ahead and type in and let me know, should you or should you not leave a message? And of course, you guys there as well on YouTube and the rest of the social media world, post your comments down below. Love to hear from you. Okay, so let's dive in and talk a little bit about this. So first off, let me share a couple of thoughts with you. I actually ask you some questions here. I think all of us have been on the receiving end of a salesperson calling in, cold calling us and leaving a message, right? So let me ask you guys this question. What are some of the reasons why people, particularly business owners, executives, and decision makers in companies, why don't they return our phone calls? When we call, leave a message for them, and we wait 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, why don't we get those phone calls back? What are your answers? What do you think? Is it because they don't get the message? Is it because they're too busy? Is it because they get it, but then they kind of delete it before it's even finished? Is it that they listen to the message and make some conclusions and assumptions about who we are and what we're doing, and they make a decision right then and there not to call us back? What do you guys think? Well, in my own experience and in the experience of a lot of the clients that I coach and train and work with, I think we can safely assume that most executives and decision makers do receive the message. They do hear it. They do get it. They do listen to it. But most of the time they hit delete right after the message is done. Why? Because most of the time, the voice messages that are left are what? They're usually very long. They're very, very detailed. They go in depth about who we are, the company that we represent, the product and service that we are selling, and what we are interested in, what our purpose is. And so as a result, when a prospect or a decision maker receives that quantity of information over a 30-second, 60-second, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute voice message, they're concluding in their mind 3 things. Number 1, oh, yeah, I don't know this person. Never talked to him in my life. Number 2, salesperson. Ugh. Salesperson. Yeah, can't stand those guys. And number 3, salesperson, whatever they're selling, I'm not interested. They make those split-second judgments right then. I don't know this person. This is a salesperson. I don't want what they're selling, and I'm not calling them back. Now, they're making those, actually, it's a buying decision. And they're making that buying decision based on that 60-second or 2-minute voice message. Now, let me ask you this question. Is it smart for you and I to try to sell our products and services on a 60-second or 2-minute voice message? Should we be trying to sell our products and services over voicemail? The answer is no. That's not the most effective place for you and I to do our selling. Correct? Correct. So why would it make sense for us to leave tons and tons of information then for them in order, in essence, to make a buying decision right then and there? It doesn't. So tip number 1, let me get to the real tip number. So actually, this will be tip number 2. Tip number 2, when leaving a message, is no selling. Do not, under any circumstances, tell the people that you're leaving a message for the name of your company, Tell them what products and services that you sell. Do not tell them what the purpose of your call is. Do not fall into the trap of trying to get them interested or motivated or excited about what you sell by telling them the features and the great benefits and all the great and wonderful reasons that they should call you back. Under no circumstances do any of that. Why? Because it just doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. You never get any phone calls back. I never get any phone calls back when I try that. So rule number 2 is no selling. In essence, you keep your voice messages super short, super sweet, right to the point, and we'll talk about tip number 3 here in a minute. But we missed tip number 1. Tip number 1 is perhaps the most important. And that is leaving voice messages ultimately should not be the first maneuver that you make. When you get a voice message, when you call in and get a voice message, I am a huge fan of actually hanging up the phone, because it typically means that I have not tried hard enough to try to get in touch with a person or people in the organization that I need to have a conversation with. Too often, you and I as entrepreneurs and as sales professionals and as freelancers, we have a default mechanism. We call in, they're not available. Sure, let's leave a voice message. Hope it works out good. That's our default. And that is actually problematic. Instead of defaulting to leave a message, leave a message, leave a message, leave a message, we need to default to something else. We actually need to default to, let's try harder to have a verbal conversation. Why don't we try some other tactics and activities instead of just defaulting to leaving a message? Why don't we default to trying something else? For example, can we find another person in the organization that we can talk with? Can we ask for their executive assistant or administrative assistant and try to talk to them? Can we maybe, if they're not available, can we ask to be placed on hold while somebody goes and finds them? Can we ask for their cell phone number or be transferred to their cell phone number instead? If they're in a meeting, can we have the receptionist maybe slip a note into the meeting, or if they're on a call, can a note be slipped in letting them know that we're on the phone, etc.? I know these sound like crazy, ludicrous ideas, but so often you and I are just not quite as persistent enough at trying to have a verbal conversation before we just automatically default to leaving a message. So my highest recommendation is if you're going to leave a voice message, do it as a last resort. Leave a voice message as a last resort, not as a first maneuver. Don't do that first, do it last. Try 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other things first to try to get to somebody else, or to try to get to this decision maker before kind of giving up and leaving a voice message. They don't work all that great. So why do that first? Try some other things, right? So rule number 1, do it as a last resort. But the answer is yes. Yes, leave a voice message. Yes, leave a voice message, but do it as a last resort. Rule number 2, no selling on your voicemail. Keep them short, sweet, and simple. Rule number 3 that I would recommend to you is, instead of trying to motivate a prospect or a decision maker to call you back by trying to get them really interested in what you have to sell, instead, let's switch emotions. Instead of going after interest and motivated or interested as the compelling reason to get them to call you back, let's go after a different emotion, shall we? Let's try to go after a different emotion, because interest doesn't work very good. We've already talked about why that doesn't work. We can't really get them interested. They don't know us. We're a salesperson. People hate salespeople, and they just don't want it. So let's go after a different emotion. Let's try curious instead. Let's try the emotion of curiosity, or being curious. And let's also go after the emotion of confusion. So let's try leaving a message that has a little bit of ambiguity to it. Some have called it a message of mystery, MOM, M-O-M, message of mystery, right? A message that leaves them a little bit confused, but also just a little bit curious. And they kind of have this cognitive, emotional dissonance, this imbalance that they can't resolve without calling us back, okay? I'll give you a crazy example. This is crazy. I dare you to try it, okay? So next time you get a voice message, you say something like this. Hi, John. This is Terry Hansen. My number is 208-522-9767. I needed your help with, and you hang up. I know, right? I know. You say your name, you say your phone number, and you repeat the words, I was hoping to get your help with, and as you start to fill in the blank, you hang up the phone. Now, what does that kind of a message do? Who is Terry Hansen? He gave me the number, and he said he needed some help, and then the phone dropped. They're left with a little bit of confusion. Who's Terry Hansen? And they're also a little bit curious. What did they need my help with? And that sort of imbalance, that mental, emotional, cognitive imbalance, that dissonance, that's going to fester. They can't do anything about it other than I've got to call back to see who Terry Hansen is and what he needed. That feeling of confusion and of curiosity won't leave them, and that will get you a return phone call. Let's try another example. What about a phone call like this? John, hi, Terry Hansen here. I have been trying to reach you, and it just has not worked out. Yeah, I would appreciate a phone call back. It's about 9 o'clock now. I'll be in my office till about 12. My direct line is 208-522-97. You know what? In fact, let me give you my cell, my personal cell. It's 208-346-1995. Call me there. I'd appreciate a call back. Thanks. Now, you notice the tonality, the breathing, the little bit of acting, right? But you also notice what I'm not saying in there. He doesn't really know the purpose of my call. He only knows that I've been trying to reach out to him. It hasn't worked. He's super busy, and I'd really appreciate a phone call back. I leave my office number, but wait, it's important enough for holy cow. Let me instead just give you my personal cell phone. I'd really appreciate a call back. When he gets that kind of a call, or she, who's Terry Hansen? Gosh, I feel bad. He's been trying to get a hold of me. I have been busy in meetings and traveling. Oh, I feel bad. I've been so unreachable. And wow, it must be important. He left me his cell phone number. Holy cow. But there's this confusion. There's this curiosity. I don't know what's going on. But that sort of cognitive dissonance, that sort of imbalance, that sort of emotional, mental turmoil is exactly the kind of thing that's going to get them to call us back. What do we want most? We want somebody just to return a phone call. We can do all the selling later on. We can sell later, but we just need them to call us back. So let's go after, instead of interest, let's go after curiosity and confusion, which is, by the way, the last rule. Go after curiosity as an emotion, and confusion. We want those. Those will motivate people to return your phone call 10 times better than spewing all sorts of features and benefits about what you have to offer and the great and wonderful things that you sell. 10 times better. So give it a try. I am a fan of leaving voice messages, not first, but last. I am a fan of short voicemails that don't involve any sort of selling, pitching, promoting, or getting them interested in what you have to offer. I'm a huge fan of voicemails that leave them a little curious, a little confused. Give some of those things a try. Let me know how they go. Again, post your comments down below on whether or not you think you should be leaving voice messages when you cold call. Great to be with you guys today. Let me invite you, if you've enjoyed some of the things that we've talked about today, let me invite you to do two things. Number one, on Facebook, search out Mastering Your Sales Elevator Pitch Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group that I've created just for you. You can go to my profile, Terry Hansen, and there's a link there. You can join that for more great sales training. So that's the first invitation. Second invitation is coming up this Thursday. I have a special online webinar, a special online sales training workshop that I will be diving deep into 3 secrets that you can use to boost sales and build a 6-figure sales income, even if you're brand new to selling and you're kind of green at it, whether you're an entrepreneur or a sales professional, doesn't matter, or even if, frankly, you're kind of a lousy closer, just not very good at closing sales. I'll still show you some secrets that you can use to boost your sales and to build a solid 6-figure income. So click the link down below in the description and go register for that workshop today. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode of The Terry Hansen Show. Thanks again. Take care. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.